How's it going, guys? Back again for week 3 of the Nest lockdown program. Like I said last week, I urge you to go back, and if you haven't already, do week 1 and week 2 before you hit this week's session. It is available to all Nest members and all abilities are welcome. Okay, so we'll kick off with today's warm-up. First movement is a slow mountain climber. So you're used to probably seeing this in a more dynamic fashion, but I like to slow movements down so we can iron out strength and see where everyone is. So you're going to set yourself up like a push-up position, and then from here all you're trying to do is take left knee towards left elbow. If you can touch, great, and then right knee to right elbow. If you can't touch, don't worry, just stop shy of the elbow or in that sort of direction. I don't want to see you rounding through the spine, so try and keep your lower back in a good position. So if that means you're only getting to here, then that's fine for today. 10 slow and controlled reps, so that's 5 on each side. You're going to then move to the bird dog. So the bird dog, you set up on all fours. Again, trying to keep your back in its natural position. Yeah, nice flat back, don't let your head hang. Keep your chin tucked. And then from here we're going opposite hand, opposite leg. You're going to extend, try and create a nice straight line from the tips of your fingers to your heel bone. So it should hopefully look a little bit like this. We're going to again do 10 reps, 5 on each side. Just with a little pause, control in, extend. Try not to shrug aggressively through the shoulder, keep your shoulder down and back, and keep the movement nice and controlled. Got 5 reps before you switch and do the other side. Exactly the same. So now left arm, right leg. Lock out, keep the shoulder packed. Control, try not to twist through the hip. Feel your midsection working. So your obliques are stopping you twisting. Glute, hamstring, upper back, mid back, and coordination, all in one movement. And that's 5. From there we then go into a side plank. Again, set yourself up, just lying sideways on the mat. Keep the elbow right under the shoulder. So if you're on your right arm, you want your elbow in line with your hip and with your right heel bone. Step forward with the opposite foot just to help you stabilize. Once you're ready to go, lift your hip off the mat and you're just going to hold there for 10 seconds. Yeah, nice and controlled. If you can, let's keep the switch over dynamic so you don't have to touch down. And then you switch and you hold there for 10 seconds. Or if you need to set yourself down and reset, that's also fine. From the side plank, we then go into the iron cross rotation. So you set yourself up in this sort of crucifix position where you're lying flat on the mat, arms either side. I like to look for the hamstring stretch, so I take my left foot up, feel my hammy, go across my body towards the opposite hand. Try to keep your shoulders as flat as you can. The opposite shoulder, you'll see will kind of pop off. Try and keep it back, feel a big stretch and then come back. Focus on using your midsection to actually control your leg. So I'm not aggressively just throwing it across my body. I'm trying to lift and control it back. Yeah, so lift up, across the body. 5 reps one way, 5 reps the other way. Bloody mic thing's in the way. So, done the iron cross rotations, and then we move to the single leg deadlift. Movement that you've seen in the last couple of weeks, one I like to really drill just for ankle, hip health, knee health, and just overall stability and coordination. So plant, we'll start, let's say, with your left foot. You're trying to hinge back through the hip Your chest will naturally drop towards the ground, but you want to use your back leg as a counterbalance. Ideally, we'd like you to make a nice T shape, keeping the leg that's planted slightly bent. As you come through the hip, you lock out and try and squeeze the glute. So hopefully you want to hinge back, try and make a T shape and come back. Yeah, make sure you lock out the leg that's planted. Try and make a T shape. That was a bit wobbly, do that one again. Nice T shape, then come back. Think of sitting the hip back, try and stabilize and then come back. Five on each leg. So when you switch sides, I'll show you a few on the other side. A bit wobbly today. Little pause, come back. Little pause, come back. Little pause, come back. Just really looking for that hamstring here, glute, drive through the hip and stand tall. I'll do one more just to make sure. Perfect. Once you've done your single leg deadlifts, final movement, just to dial in your squat. Set your feet wherever you like to squat from. Just make sure 3 points of contact, heel bone, big toe, little toe should firmly be driving into the ground. Yeah, so you're trying to really spread the weight. Grip the ground, focus on sitting the hip back slightly before you drop the pelvis between the ankles. So again, 10 reps, nice and controlled. Inhale as you drop, exhale as you come up. So reps. Okay, so I want you to repeat that warm up for 3 rounds. Take your time, move deliberately, move with control, and really start to set the intention for the workout. Focus on what you're doing, forget all your day-to-day worries. We'll then move on to the sort of strength element of the session. Again, just trying to focus on control and moving well. Always try and move well before we throw intensity in. The first movement is a push-up. Second movement will be making use of a towel. So if you haven't got one, grab one now. And the third movement is the breaststroke hover, something I haven't done in the last couple of weeks, but you'll see that now. First movement, the push-up. Couple of pointers, you've seen this one in the last few weeks. Try and keep your hands under the shoulders, maybe slightly out in front of the shoulders depending on how your wrists feel. I always try and grip the ground a little bit just to help me stay a bit active through the hands and through the wrists. Keep your chin tucked, so I don't want to see the chin and the head hanging. Initiate the movement by moving your chest and whole body down in a straight line. Feel a stretch at the bottom of the movement, drive out the hole. So nice and controlled, make contact with the ground and drive out the hole. I'd like you to hit 10 reps. If 10 is fairly comfortable, up the repetitions to anything up to 20 reps will be great. We then move on to an iso towel hold. So if you've ever done a traditional band pull apart, we're just turning this into an isometric by using a towel. Super effective movement, which you're going to see, which you're going to experience. So I want you to then grab your towel, set a timer to start at 20 seconds. You're going to grab the towel and focus on trying to pull the towel apart. Yeah, so you're keeping the towel taut for the 20 seconds. So you're not only trying to pull it apart, I'm trying to gently rotate externally. Yeah, so I'm trying to bend and tear the towel at the same time. You'll just feel all the little muscles in your back and shoulders light up, and you want to keep that tension on. Don't arch into the lower back, focus on keeping your abs engaged and squeezing your glutes to look after your lower back. So just grabbing the towel, 3, 2, 1, trying to pull the towel apart, keep your shoulders packed down and back, squeezing the glutes, keeping the abs tight and holding there for about 20 seconds. Once you've done that, we move on to the breaststroke hovers. So you're going to be face down on the ground. Yep, setting up face down. Think about what you would be doing with your arms in a breaststroke, and you don't want to touch the ground at any point. Again, set your timer, we'll start on 30 seconds, and you can progress as the rounds go on. So you can add another 10 seconds on each round, or start at a higher interval. So, trying to replicate that breaststroke, big circles, shrug your shoulders into press, extend, trying to push that water behind me. Push the water behind me, big circles. I'm going to try and keep it nice and even through left and right. Really think about how your scapula is moving. And try and keep your hands away from the ground for at least 30 seconds. Very effective movement. So I want you to repeat that tricep for 3 rounds. In between each tricep, take about 90 seconds rest and go straight back in. What you can do is add a few more reps if you feel like it wasn't challenging enough for you, or add some time. So I like to start on maybe 10 reps for the push-ups, 20 seconds for the towel pull apart, and 30 seconds for the breaststroke swimmer hovers, and then add 10 on each interval. Give that a go and see how you feel. Once you're done with the first tricep, we have a second one to get through. What you'll need is your towel. First movement for today is your bent over iso towel hold. Again, great movement that you'll feel through your whole body. I want you to start by holding this movement for 20 seconds. So grab your towel at either end, place it on the mat, and try and stand through the center. Place yourself evenly through the towel. Try and focus on keeping your shoulders down and back. Keep your back in a nice natural straight line, so I'm not arching and I'm not rounding. So lock your back in by squeezing your abs. Drive your feet into the towel and pull the towel up as hard as you can. Hold there for 20 seconds. If you can't feel anything, I'll be surprised. So hold tight, try and create as much tension as you can for 20 seconds. Once you've hit the 20, move on to the next movement. We have reverse lunge, 10 on each side, body weight, so no weight. If you want to progress it, you can grab an odd object. If you have a bit of kit at home, grab some dumbbells, grab a rucksack with books in it, whatever you want. I personally will keep it body weight just to make it a bit more inclusive for everyone. I like to keep my thumbs up on my shoulders here and my elbows pointing straight out in front of me, just to encourage me to keep my chest in a good position. I'm not slumping over, and some consistency through my movement. So thumbs on your shoulders, elbows facing forwards. You're just going into reverse lunges, alternating until you hit 20 reps. Yeah, nice and controlled, driving through the front foot. I'm trying my best not to kick off my back leg. When you focus on the front leg doing the work, this becomes a very different movement. Once you've hit 20 reps, you can move to the third movement, which is the Cossack squat. Very challenging variation of the squat, but that's why we're here, right? So you set yourself up for the Cossack squat, nice and wide. Now you've got to find what works for you in terms of your foot position. Some people will quite happily keep their toes facing straight on. Me personally, I like to turn them out just a slight amount. And we're only going to do 5 on each side here because it is a challenging movement. Trying to sit your hip back and down towards the ankle. Yeah, so I try and focus on closing the gap between my hamstring and my calf whilst maintaining a good position in my chest. So again, I keep my hands up in front of me just to make me more accountable of what's going on with my torso. And then from there, you just want to sit into your Cossack squat. Make sure you stand tall and lock out the movement every single rep. That's 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 on the opposite leg. Have your 90 seconds rest, and again, repeat the tricep for 3 rounds. Again, you can progress it, add reps, or hold the isometric for a little longer. See what you can manage. Good work. Okay, so now we'll move on to today's finisher. So if you're not feeling warm, you will be by the end of this. So again, just to finish, 3 rounds of a 40-second wall sit, 20 controlled shoulder taps, and then 20 pike raises. So we'll go through those movements now. The wall sit you saw in a previous week. Make sure you've got somewhere where you can actually sit your hip down in line with your knee. So you want your hip in line with your knee or a little bit above. But what you're doing in this position is important. So I want you to focus on driving your feet into the ground and pushing your back against the wall. Yeah? Here the wall gives you perfect feedback. You'll know if you're overly arching through your spine. So keep your abs tightly engaged. Push into the ground and you'll just feel your quads light up. Stay there for 40 seconds. Try not to rest your hands on your legs. If anything, keep them either side or just out in front of you. Switch off. Try not to think about the pain and just stay there for 40 seconds. We'll then move on to 20 slow and controlled shoulder taps. Set yourself up like you did for your push-up. Take the feet outside the mat or wider than your hands. Just going to go nice and controlled. Touching either side. So left hand to right shoulder, right hand to left shoulder. If you notice, I'm not having to rock. I don't want to see this. Waste of time. Take your time. Try and control and own the movement. If it's too difficult there, you can just drop your knees and start here. I still feel that going through my obliques. No shame in regressing the movement. The last movement is your pike raises. Again, a challenging one, but I thought I'd give you something to work at. Set yourself up, try and stay as upright as possible. If your hamstrings don't allow you to keep straight leg, you can lean back a little bit and put your hands out behind you. Ideally, I'd like the hands out in front of you and just try and stabilize. Grip the ground, squeezing my quads as hard as I can. From here, you go into a pike raise. I'm not letting my heels touch the ground. I'm going to try and do 20 reps. Focus on creating tension for your abs and your quads and some control through those pike raises. In terms of scaling back, you can go knees bent slightly, just raising up. I don't really like that one. I would say is go into a single leg pike variation. So you can still keep the legs locked out and focus on control through one side. So instead of doing 20 together, you could do 10 on single leg. 3 rounds of that finisher. Try and take as little as rest as possible. Move through it at a pace that you can maintain. Hope you enjoyed that session, guys. I'll see you again next week. Good luck.